Prosecutors file thousands of criminal cases every year across the state of Oklahoma, and many of those never actually go to trial. We're happy to welcome back First Assistant DA Erik Grayless with the Tulsa County District Attorney's Office to talk about that and what goes into making those decisions. Welcome in.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, thousands and thousands of cases are filed just in Tulsa County, your office alone, every year. It's not possible to get all those to trial.
Yeah, DA Steve Kunzweiler's office as a whole files almost 5,000 felonies, over 5,000 misdemeanors, 14,000 traffic tickets, 1,000 delinquent or juvenile cases, and over 300 deprived cases involving the termination of parental rights. So what our office does is actually pretty wide, what we cover, and we just don't have the trial weeks to put all of those to trial.
So there's 25 trial weeks in a year?
Yeah, 25 trial weeks in a year. Those are divided between 5 separate criminal district judges, of which our office is assigned to staff each one of those criminal cases. So if you just look at it from a numbers game, you have 125 trials available between all the judges, but we file over or nearly 5,000 felony cases. Now, your cases like murder cases, child abuse cases, rape cases, those are very likely to go to trial. That means everything else has to be worked out in some capacity short of a jury trial.
So from charges being filed to the end trial, so much can happen between those two points. What are some of the options, whether it's, pleading guilty, blind plea, stuff like that?
Yeah, you're identifying some of those options. So the charge is open with the filing of an information. The defendant then goes and enters a plea and has a bond hearing. Anytime after that point, really, the defendant, through his attorney, can enter into plea negotiations. He knows maybe he did the crime and he just wants to get the best deal. He doesn't want to leave his future up to 12 members of the public and a jury. Additionally, defense attorneys may try to argue that the case was defective somehow, and so the case needs to be dismissed by the judge. Throughout this period of time, which is all constitutionally set by both the Oklahoma and federal constitution, plea negotiations can happen, where a defendant would say, I'd agree to do this. Would you take my offer? The state could say, no, we want you to do this. Would you take our offer? And so there's a lot of negotiation. That's in the benefit of both sides. Yeah. Because we want to come to an agreement if we can and not be forced to take it all the way to a jury trial.
So often when I report on these cases and it's a plea deal, people automatically think, oh, well, the suspect got off easy. And that's not always the case. And I've heard defense attorneys tell me if both sides, prosecution and defense attorneys, are upset, it's probably the best decision. But what are some other reasons that can lead to a plea negotiation, like maybe victims not wanting to testify?
Yeah, a lot of things go into making those decisions. Maybe we offer a Department of Corrections recommendation. He has to go do time. The victim is happy with that, and the defendant is willing to do that. That's a way that the case may go away. That is certainly not a light on crime type of recommendation. Additionally, certain crimes don't demand prison. They may be someone that we need to get help through drug court, mental health court. There may be other examples like you'd identified where the victims initially were cooperative and they don't want to cooperate anymore, so we may not be able to prosecute the case to its fullest. You see a lot of that with, unfortunately, domestic violence cases, where you're entering in that domestic violence cycle. There's a lot of off-ramps that are appropriate at all points throughout the criminal process, where justice can be done through negotiation, through an understanding of all of the parties prior to putting it in the hands of a jury.
It's not what you see in Law and Order on TV. There's so much more that goes into it.
Absolutely. We both do it the very beginning, the charging, all the way through to the very end at the jury trial. You only really see that very end on TV, but there's a lot more that goes into it beyond that.
Erik, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.